Welcome back to Mr. Night Dreams. Tonight, we're heading into the kind of places most people refuse to talk about, the forgotten mountain roads, where the trees hide more than just shadows. These winding paths have swallowed stories for generations, but tonight, we're uncovering 6 of the most disturbing encounters ever shared. Stories told by the very people who barely made it back. These accounts come from travelers, rangers, hikers, and lifelong mountain residents. People who were forced to confront things that shouldn't exist. Footsteps that appear out of thin air. Voices calling out from places no human could be. And something watching from just beyond the tree line. Older and darker than anything we understand. For years, these tales have been whispered quietly from one family to the next. Warnings about the roads you should never take after sundown. While some names and details have been adjusted for safety, the experiences remain exactly as they were reported. Raw, terrifying, and unforgettable. And if this is your first time here, hit subscribe to Mr. Night Dreams. We bring you real horror from the hidden corners of the world, the stories that keep people awake long after the video ends. Turn on notifications because tonight, the wilderness has a story to tell, and you won't want to miss what comes next. Story 1 by Jenny. You ever notice how some roads feel like they're watching you? That's how the old Ridgewater Mountain Road felt to me the first night I drove it alone. I still don't know if it was the altitude, the fog, or something else entirely, but I swear that road had a pulse. Before we start, if you're listening, make sure to like this video, hit subscribe, and tell me in the comments, would you ever drive alone on a mountain road at 2 a.m.? Yes or no? I really want to know how many of you are braver than me. Anyway, here's what happened. It was late, later than I meant to be out, and the air was cold enough that every breath inside the car fogged the windshield. I had the heater blowing full force, but it didn't seem to reach me. The cold felt like it lived inside my bones. The mountains around me were pitch black, except for the pale strip of moonlight that cut across the peaks. There were no houses, no gas stations, no signs of life anywhere. Just that twisting, narrow road and the steep drop on the right side that seemed to swallow headlights whole. I kept telling myself I'd be fine. It was just a road. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd made a mistake taking this route. I remember gripping the steering wheel tighter as the fog thickened. It wasn't natural fog, not like clouds drifting across the mountain. It felt closer, heavier, like it formed around the car itself. That's when I saw the sign. A small metal sign on the side of the road, half rusted, bent at the middle like something had hit it years ago. It read, "Do not stop." I laughed out loud at first. Who puts a sign like that in the middle of nowhere? But then something about it made my laughter die in my throat. Because underneath the words, someone had scratched another line in shaky letters. "He follows." I swallowed hard, shifted in my seat, and told myself it was just some cruel joke by local kids. But that sinking feeling in my stomach didn't go away. I kept driving. After maybe another 15 minutes, I saw something strange on the road ahead. At first, I thought it was just roadkill or maybe a fallen branch. But as I got closer, I realized it was neither. It was a shoe. Just one, a white sneaker lying perfectly centered on the yellow line. I slowed down, rolled past it. My headlights washed over it again, and I felt this deep, instinctive fear bloom in my chest. Because the shoe looked brand new, and it was small, like it belonged to a child. I stared at it in the mirror as I drove away, trying to rationalize it. Maybe it fell from a car. Maybe a hiker dropped it. But the deeper part of my mind whispered something else. Someone left it there. The road twisted sharply, and for a moment, I had to focus on not driving off the edge. The drop to the right was terrifying, hundreds of feet straight down into pitch-black nothingness. But when I straightened out the wheel and looked forward again, my heart stopped. There was a figure standing in the middle of the road. A man, tall, still, facing directly toward me. I slammed on the brakes so hard my seatbelt punched into my chest. The tires screamed on the pavement, and I felt the car skid slightly before it stopped just yards away from him. The man didn't move. He just stood there, shoulders slightly hunched, head tilted like he was trying to peer through the windshield. I fumbled to hit the high beams. But when the brighter lights flooded the road, he was suddenly closer. Not walking, not running, just closer. Like he jumped toward me without moving his body. A chill stabbed straight through my spine. I locked the doors immediately. "Don't stop," the sign had said. And here I was, stopped, trapped. I couldn't see his face yet, only his silhouette. His clothes looked torn, and there was something wrong with his posture, like his spine curved inward too much, as if he'd been bent and never healed. My fingers shook as I reached for the gear shift. Then something happened that made my stomach drop into my shoes. He waved, a slow, stiff, unnatural wave. I don't know why, but that disturbed me more than anything else, because it didn't feel like a greeting. It felt like a warning, or an invitation. I slammed the car into reverse, ready to back away, but the second I did, I heard something. Not from him, from behind me. A soft, delicate voice, a whisper. "Don't go back." I froze. That voice didn't belong to a man. It didn't belong to anyone I knew. It came from the back seat. I whipped around so fast the seatbelt cut into my collarbone. No one was there. The back seat was empty. The foggy windows, the dim glow of the dashboard, the pile of old books on the seat. Everything was exactly as it should be. Except the air felt different. Heavy, cold, alive. I turned back toward the windshield. The man was now standing right next to the car. His face was inches from the glass. But there was no face, no eyes, no nose, no lips. Just stretched, pale skin pulled tight over where features should have been. I screamed and floored the gas pedal. The car lurched forward, swerving past him. I didn't look back. I didn't breathe. I just drove. But the road kept twisting. Left, right, left again. And the fog grew thicker until it swallowed the car completely. My headlights were useless. My hands cramped around the steering wheel. Every instinct screamed that I wasn't alone. Then something appeared again. Not in front of me, not behind me, running beside the car. A shape in the fog, keeping pace, matching my speed no matter how fast I went. My chest tightened, my vision blurred. Then, through the haze, a face pressed against the passenger window from this outside. A face I had just seen pressed against the windshield. The faceless man. He was running alongside the car like he weighed nothing, like gravity meant nothing to him. His head jerked and twitched as if he were trying to look inside. I couldn't look. I couldn't breathe. I kept driving, praying the fog would thin, praying the road wouldn't end in a drop. And as my panic reached its peak, the voice came again. Soft, female, cold. "Why did you stop?" I felt tears flood my eyes. "Who are you?" I whispered shakily. The voice didn't answer. Instead, she said something else, something I still hear in my nightmares. "He follows those who look at him." A chill shot through my body. I had looked at him, more than once. A few seconds later, the fog split open like a curtain, and I tore forward into clear air. My heart pounded so hard I felt dizzy. The road finally straightened, giving me a clear stretch ahead. I sped toward the exit sign. I didn't look back. Not once. And yet, I still heard one last whisper before the fog swallowed the road behind me. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I didn't even blink. The tapping on my window continued, slow, patient, deliberate, the way someone taps when they know they already have your full attention. I could see only the shape of a hand through the fog glass. Long fingers, too long. The joints bent slightly the wrong way, like they had been broken and healed incorrectly. My trembling breath fogged the inside of the windshield, making the outside world even harder to see. The tapping stopped. Then came something even worse, a voice. Not outside, inside my car. A whisper slid from the back seat like cold water being poured directly into my ears. Don't look! Every hair on my body stood up at once. My heart punched against my ribs so hard I felt dizzy. I didn't want to look, but I had to. Moving as slowly as humanly possible, I turned my head toward the back seat, expecting, I don't even know what. A person? A creature? Nothing? There was no one there. But the indentation on the leather seat was still sinking, as if someone had just been sitting there a second ago. I felt my stomach drop. Something had been behind me. Or maybe it still was. The fog outside thickened, pressing against the windows like hands trying to get in. My headlights illuminated nothing but swirling white. I tried to start the car again, even though I already knew it was useless. The engine made a sound like someone choking on their own breath and died again. A second whisper filled the car. This time directly next to my ear. He's not gone! I slapped a hand over my ear, shaking, tears spilling without my permission. Please, I whispered. Please stop. The fog outside shifted suddenly, like something huge moved in front of the car. My headlights flickered, struggling against the darkness. Then something glided into view. A face, pressed to the windshield. Not human, not even close. The eyes were wide, unblinking, reflective like an animal. But the pupils, they were vertical, and the smile stretched too far, like the skin was being pulled by hooks hidden under the cheeks. It cocked its head, studying me. Then it opened its mouth, not to speak. No, to breathe. A slow inhale, long and rattling, fogging the glass from the outside. It was smelling me. I froze, completely. I don't even think my heart beat. The whisper returned, trembling through the car like it was clinging to the walls. Don't let it hear your heartbeat. How was I supposed to do that? How do you silence a body that's trying to keep you alive? The thing outside dragged one long finger down the windshield. The sound was horrible, like metal being carved open. I shut my eyes. In that instant, the whisper grew louder. If you want to live, don't look again. I didn't understand. Why couldn't I look? What would happen? Before I could process anything, the passenger side door handle clicked. I screamed. It clicked again, and again. Then it started pulling. The lock jiggled violently. I threw myself across the seat and held the lock down with all my strength, my arms shaking uncontrollably. Another whisper. He's hungry tonight. I didn't know what he was. I didn't want to know. I only knew the door was barely holding. The fog pressed harder against the glass, thickening, darkening, almost turning red. Then the thing outside spoke. For the first time. And it spoke my name. How did it know my name? I didn't respond. I couldn't. It pressed its forehead harder into the windshield, twisting its neck in a slow, unnatural circle, like it was trying to loosen something that wasn't meant to move. Come out, it croaked, the voice layered as if more than one mouth was speaking at once. I know you want to see me, the voice behind me whispered again. Don't answer, don't react, don't breathe. I didn't know whether to trust the whisper or fear it, but it felt protective, somehow. Then the thing outside scraped its hand across the entire windshield, leaving streaks that looked like claw marks. Suddenly, the road lights flickered on. For the first time, I could see more than fog, and I wished I hadn't. The thing standing in front of my car wasn't standing on the road. It was crouched, backwards. Its knees bent the wrong direction, its hands inverted, its head hanging upside down like it didn't know which way was correct. Slowly, impossibly, it began unfolding itself, straightening its body bone by bone, cracking joints, stretching limbs that were too long for a human frame. I felt nausea rise up my throat. It shouldn't have been able to move like that. Nothing should. The whisper behind me trembled. Don't let it inside, no matter what it promises you. What does it want? I whispered. To replace you. The creature leaned toward the windshield again, that stretched smile widening. It tapped the glass with one long finger. Tap, tap, tap. Then it whispered one sentence that made my entire world tilt sideways. I used to look like you. My vision blurred. My hands went cold. My lungs stuttered. I wanted to vomit. The creature's fingers curled around the edge of the hood, peeling itself closer to the windshield like a spider. Suddenly a horn blasted. Blinding headlights flooded the fog. A truck barreled toward me, inches away from impact. I threw myself back into the driver's seat, screaming, expecting the crash. But the truck passed straight through the creature. Like the thing wasn't even physical. The truck's roar shook the entire car, and as it flew past, the fog tore apart like smoke. I saw the creature clearly for the first time. It wasn't one being. It was many. Faces behind its face. Eyes behind its eyes. Shapes moving beneath its skin like things trapped inside, trying to get out. I slammed my hand on the horn, hoping, praying to scare it. The creature flickered, like a glitch. Then suddenly its face was inches from mine again. But this time, inside the car. My body locked up, frozen. Its breath slid across my cheek, cold and smelling like dirt that had never seen sunlight. Then it whispered, "You saw me." It reached one finger toward my chest. My heart rate skyrocketed. The whisper behind me screamed in my ear, "Run!" My driver's side door clicked. Unlocked. Not by me. My hand reacted before my brain did. I shoved the door open and threw myself outside into the freezing air. I didn't care where I was going. I just ran. The fog swallowed me instantly, but I kept running, slipping on the asphalt, scraping my knees, feeling blood trickle down my leg. Behind me, I heard the creature crawling. Not walking, crawling. Its hands slapped the road in uneven patterns, like it didn't understand rhythm. Like it was still learning how to move in this shape. It kept whispering my name, over and over. Too many voices. Too close. I found the guardrail and followed it blindly, praying it would lead somewhere, anywhere, that wasn't this living nightmare. The wind shifted suddenly. The fog began thinning. And for a moment, I thought I was saved. Until I heard the whisper one last time. Not behind me. Not beside me. Inside me. "You'll see me again when your road changes." I spun around, but there was nothing. No creature. No whisper. Just silence. And then, headlights. A car approached slowly. A normal car. A woman leaned out the window, panicked. "Are you okay? Were you in that broken down car back there?" I opened my mouth to speak and stopped. Because behind her, in the back seat of her car, something shifted. Something smiled. Something tapped once on the window. I didn't tell her. I couldn't. I just backed away, whispering, "No, no, keep driving, please just go." She tried to argue, but something in my voice must have terrified her. She closed the door and sped away. The fog swallowed her car, and the tapping faded. I walked for almost 3 hours down the mountain until sunrise. When a tow truck found my car later, the windshield was scratched from the inside. Not the outside, the inside. I didn't go back to that road. But sometimes when I'm driving at night, the radio glitches, the windshield fogs, the lane lines flicker like static. And I hear it again, that same whisper, that same warning disguised as a threat. Story 2 by Jiki. I still don't know why I took that road. I had driven through the desert dozens of times, but I always stayed on the main highway. Bright, busy, loud, safe. But that night, when the GPS suddenly froze and recentered itself, the route shifted onto an old service road that sliced through the dead middle of nowhere. A thin, cracked stretch of faded asphalt with no wideness. No lights, no fences, no towns, nothing. I should have turned back, but I didn't. And I've asked myself 1,000 times why. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was exhaustion. Or maybe something wanted me there. The desert at night has its own type of silence. Not peaceful, not calm. It's hollow, like sound itself refuses to exist. My headlights carved 2 narrow tunnels through their darkness, but everything outside of that was void. Pure black. The type of black that makes you feel watched even if you know you're alone. At least, I thought I was alone. I was about an hour down that road when the first sign appeared. A road sign, rusted, bent, almost swallowed by the dark. It said, "Turn back." Not road closed, not detour, just those 2 words. I laughed nervously and kept driving. I thought maybe teenagers had messed with it, or maybe it was for a construction route that didn't exist anymore. Then a few minutes later, I saw another one. "This way is wrong." The letters were hand-painted at this time, smeared, uneven. The sign itself looked old, too old, like it had been out there for decades and no one had bothered to remove it. I slowed down and looked around at the dark desert on both sides of the road. Nothing moved. Nothing lived. And yet I felt watched. I told myself it was just road trip paranoia. Long stretches of quiet can do that to you, especially when you're alone and it's late. But deep down, I'd already started shaking. The third sign didn't help. It had no words, just a handprint. Huge. Twice the size of mine. And not the shape of a normal human hand. The fingers were too long, too thin, the palm too narrow, like it had been stretched. I drove faster. The speedometer climbed even though my hands were sweating so much they kept slipping on the steering wheel. I turned on the radio to drown out the silence, but all it made was a soft static hum. That's when the voice appeared. Not a normal voice, a faint hiss inside the static, almost whispering. At first I thought it was picking up a distant station, but the more I listened, the more it felt like the voice wasn't coming from the radio at all. It sounded like it was right beside me. It said one single sentence. "He's still on your side." I threw a look at the passenger seat. Empty. Of course it was. The darkness beyond the windows was so thick I couldn't see anything except my own reflection, warped and ghostly against the glass. I turned the radio off, but the static didn't stop. That's when I knew something was horribly wrong. The sound wasn't coming from the radio. It was coming from the car. Somewhere inside the frame, inside the walls of the doors, inside the vents. The whisper bled through the static again, slightly louder. "Don't stop the car." I wanted to scream, but the words got trapped in my throat. My breathing became shallow, uneven. My headlights flickered, not off, just pulsing, like something was walking through them. Then the static shifted. It turned rhythmic, like breathing. Deep, slow, wet breathing. I pressed harder on the gas, the road stretching endlessly ahead like an optical illusion. Always flat, always straight, never changing. But the breathing didn't fade. It felt closer. My eyes went to the rearview mirror. At first I saw nothing. Then, a shape, sitting in the back seat. Still, tall, leaning slightly forward. My heart clawed its way up my throat. I didn't dare blink. The shape didn't move, not even a twitch. I couldn't see its face. Its entire head was bowed, as if staring at the floor. But I could see its outline, and I knew instantly it wasn't human. Humans aren't that long. Humans don't fold like that. And no human I've ever met breathes like that. I gripped the wheel so hard my knuckles burned. Then the breathing paused. Silence. A single second. 2. 3. And then the shape lifted its head. Slowly. Unnaturally slowly. Like its muscles weren't used to doing that. I closed my eyes, praying that when I opened them, it would be gone like a trick of the mind. I opened them. It was closer, halfway across the back seat. Just there. No movement, no sound, just suddenly closer. I slammed my foot on the gas, tears burning my eyes. My car shook from the speed, the entire desert blurring. My chest felt tight. My stomach rolled. My skin crawled. The voice returned. "Don't look back. Don't look at him again." I didn't, but I felt it, leaning forward. Closer, closer. The air behind me felt heavy and damp. A cold breath drifted along my neck. Something touched my shoulder. I screamed and swerved, almost losing control. The shape jerked back, but now I could hear it. The sound wasn't breathing anymore. It was choking. Or laughing. A horrible gurgling noise that vibrated through the car. I flicked my headlights on high beam even though the road was empty. And that's when I saw the force sign. A giant wooden post hammered into the ground. Words carved into it. "Don't let him change you." I didn't understand what that meant. Change me how? Into what? The laughter behind me stopped. The air froze. Then I heard its voice for the first time. Not a whisper. Not static. A real voice. Right behind my ear. "I'm hungry." I swerved again. The road turned rough, gravel scraping under my tires, my car fishtailed, dust exploding behind me. I braced myself for impact, for flipping, for dying. But instead, I saw lights. Not normal headlights, flashing red and blue. A police cruiser sat parked sideways across the road. A man stood beside it, waving frantically. I slammed the brakes, my car skidding to a stop a few feet away from him. Dust clouded around me, and I coughed, shaking uncontrollably. The officer ran to my window. "Are you hurt?" he asked. I shook my head, unable to speak. He looked over my shoulder into the back seat. "Were you driving alone?" I didn't dare turn around. "Yes," I lied. He stared harder. "You're sure?" "Yes," I whispered, gripping the wheel so tight my hands shook violently. "Positive." He nodded slowly. Then he said something that shouldn't have made sense, but somehow felt like the only truth that mattered. "You shouldn't be on this road. It's not meant to be open anymore." "What's wrong with it?" I whispered. He didn't answer. He just stared into the darkness behind my car, his face tightening like he was listening for something. "Drive behind me," he said. "Don't stop. Don't look back. Whatever you hear, ignore it." I nodded. He got into his car. I shifted into gear. But before I started driving, I glanced just once into the rearview mirror. The back seat was empty, completely empty, like nothing had ever been there at all. But the seatbelt was buckled. By itself. And slowly, so slowly, I almost missed it. It tightened. I didn't breathe the entire drive behind the police cruiser, but as the desert road slowly began connecting back to the main highway, the air inside my car lifted. The static faded. The vents quieted. The chill left the air. The police car pulled onto the shoulder up ahead. The officer got out. But before I could wave, thank him, breathe, he vanished. Right in front of me, like he had never been there. And the desert swallowed the spot where he'd stood. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't sleep the next night either. Because every time I close my eyes, I hear that breathing behind me again. And when I'm driving late, the radio sometimes picks up static. Sometimes a whisper. And once, just once, something touched my shoulder again. I didn't go back to that desert road for weeks, not even close. I memorized every alternate route, every safe gas station, every lit intersection. But avoiding something doesn't erase it. It waits. It learns you. It decides what you fear most, and then it chooses the moment to return. For me, that moment came on a night when everything should have been normal. I was driving home after visiting my aunt, hours from the desert. A safe, familiar highway surrounded by loud cities and billboards and traffic. But as the miles passed, the noise thinned, the cars disappeared, and the darkness thickened in a way I recognized too well. My GPS glitched again. It froze, recentered, and the new road cut straight into the desert. I slammed the brakes so hard cars behind me honked and swerved. "No," I whispered. "No, not again." But the screen wouldn't change back. Every time I hit refresh or canceled navigation or tried typing a new destination, it returned to the same place. A road with no name, leading nowhere, just like before. My breath hitched. And then I saw it. A sign on the shoulder of the highway. Not an official sign. A wooden one, stuck in the dirt, words painted in uneven strokes. "You didn't listen." I felt the blood freeze in my veins. How was that here? How did it follow me this far? I turned the car around immediately, hard hammering, hands trembling so hard the wheel kept slipping. I took the first exit, any exit, just to get away. But the moment I reached the off-ramp, my headlights flickered. The road ahead blurred, and suddenly I wasn't on the highway anymore. I wasn't anywhere near the city. The world around me shifted like a curtain being pulled away, revealing a set that had always been behind it. The desert road stretched out in front of me. The same one, the same cracked asphalt, the same suffocating black darkness. It didn't matter that the highway was miles away. I was back. Dragged back, forced back. The engine sputtered, coughed, then steadied, like something inside the car was settling into place. I felt the presence return before I heard it. A slow shift of air, a cold pressure behind my seat. Not movement, but noticing, watching, and then the single exhale. Wet, heavy, too close. I gripped the steering wheel as if it could protect me. The voice slid through the car again, soft and crawling. "You shouldn't have left me." My lungs collapsed inward. Tears collected without falling. The rearview mirror shook as the car vibrated with something unseen. And then I saw a shape behind me. Not clear, not fully formed, but there. Long and wrong, as if it were trying on different sizes, trying different distances, trying different ways of fitting into the space behind me. I forced myself not to look fully, not to meet its eyes. Last time, that changed everything. Last time, I felt something inside me tilt, like reality wanted to bend. I stared straight ahead. The first new sign appeared. Old. Metal. Rusted. Maybe decades old. But the letters were carved so violently the metal had bent around them. "Only one of you can leave." I choked on a breath. "What does that mean?" I whispered. The air behind me moved again. Something dragged a finger along the leather seat. A slow scrape. "You know," the voice whispered. "You've always known." I didn't. I didn't know anything except fear. My vision blurred as the car entered a stretch of darkness. Even my headlights couldn't break through. The light seemed swallowed, as if the air itself was thick enough to choke it. And then my radio turned on by itself. Static. But underneath it, footsteps. Slow, crunching on gravel. Like someone was walking in the circles around the car. But I was moving. I was driving at 60 miles an hour. How could footsteps keep up? A sudden bang hit the roof, then another, like fists pounding, trying to break through. "No, no, no," I whispered, ducking instinctively. Another bang. Then a voice outside whispered through the glass. "Let me in." I kept driving, faster. My foot pressed down hard, the pedal trembling under my shoe. "Let me in." The scream rattled the entire car. My ears rang so loudly I thought they were bleeding. The windshield shook. The roof dented inward for a moment like something enormous had landed on it. A shadow stretched across the glass, crawling like spider legs. Then silence. The sudden quiet hit harder than the noise. It was the kind of silence that meant something was choosing, deciding. And then the voice behind me whispered again, "You don't have to run." "No," I whispered. "Stay away. You don't have to be alone." "I'm not alone," I cried. "I'm not." "You are. You always are. You drive alone. You sleep alone. You suffer alone." My jaw tightened, because some part of that was true, and it knew it. You let strangers pass you. You let friends drift away. You let your own fear choke you. That's why I found you. You're the easiest to mirror. "Mirror?" I breathed. "You didn't leave me on that road," it whispered, leaning closer, the temperature dropping by 20 degrees. "You brought me with you." The seatbelt tightened again, squeezing, holding. Not protecting, claiming. I screamed and clawed at it, trying to loosen it, my breath cutting off as the strap dug into my ribs. The more I fought, the tighter it pulled. The creature murmured, "Stop struggling. Stop pretending. You know exactly why I chose you. You and I are the same." "No, we're not," I gasped. "You hide in the dark too." My vision spotted. Black dots swam across my sight. The edges of the world blurred. I thought I was going to pass out, but then a horn blared somewhere in the distance. A low, warning sound. The seatbelt loosened. The creature hissed. The horn grew louder. And suddenly floodlights blasted across the desert. For a moment I thought it was a truck again, but it wasn't. It was a convoy. 3 vehicles, huge lamps mounted on top, blinding beams cutting through the darkness like spears. They swerved around me, tires grinding sand, surrounding my car in a triangle formation. The pounding lights pierced every shadow. The creature shrank back. The cold lifted, and for the first time I could breathe. A voice came through a loudspeaker. "Don't look behind you. Don't stop the car. Follow us now." I obeyed. We drove for what felt like an hour, straight, unbroken, no signs, no fog, until finally the desert shifted into familiar land again. City lights appeared in the distance, shimmering through the hot air. My heart eased. Then the lead vehicle stopped abruptly. A man stepped out, a lantern in his hand, his face tired, eyes hollow. He approached my window, leaned in slightly and whispered, "You weren't supposed to see that road. It chooses people. And once you're chosen..." He hesitated. His voice dropped lower. "It sends something to replace you." My blood froze solid. He squeezed his eyes shut, shook his head. "We stopped it tonight, but it'll try again." "What do I do?" I whispered. "How do I stop it?" "You don't," he said softly. "You run. You live. You don't drive alone at night. And if your radio ever turns to static," he leaned closer to my ear, "don't turn around." He stepped back. I blinked and the vehicles were gone. No tire marks, no lights, no dust. Gone. I drove home without turning on the radio, without looking in the mirror, without speaking. And for months, nothing happened. I thought maybe it was over. But 2 days ago, while driving after work, my GPS glitched again, recentered, and the new destination was already saved, pinned, named. Your road. My hands shook so violently I nearly dropped the phone. I haven't driven at night since. And if you're listening to this right now, if you felt watched on a dark road, if your radio ever glitches or the air suddenly shifts, cold, ask yourself something. Was that your imagination? Or has your road already chosen you? Story 3 by Lordo. I wasn't supposed to be on that road that night. The GPS kept insisting it was the fastest route, but if you've ever driven through the Nevada desert at midnight, you know fast isn't the point. Surviving the silence is. There's something unnatural about a place where even sound feels lost. And I swear the desert at night, it listens. The story I'm about to tell you still makes my hands shake when I touch a steering wheel. And before we go deeper, tell me in the comments, have you ever driven on a road that made you feel watched? Because if you have, maybe what happened to me won't feel as impossible as it sounds. And hey, before this gets really dark, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next stories. I promise what you're about to hear isn't just another scary road encounter. It's something different. Something that still follows me into my sleep. It all started with a voice on the radio. I had been driving for about 4 hours, the highway stretching endlessly ahead like a strip of faded bone under the moonlight. My car was the only thing moving in miles. The desert looked flat, dead, and endless. But every so often I'd catch shapes in the distance, shadows that disappeared when I blinked. I kept telling myself they were rocks or cacti. Nothing more. But the human brain loves betraying itself. Around 12:47 a.m., my radio crackled, even though I had completely turned it off. At first I thought it was static. Then I heard it, a whisper. Soft, female, too close. Don't take this road. I felt my stomach drop. The voice wasn't coming from my phone and no headlights were behind me. I even lowered the volume, but the whisper got asterisk clearer asterisk. You should have stayed on the main highway. My throat tightened. I hadn't told anyone I changed routes. No one knew. The static faded and the radio went silent again. I told myself it was in my head. I hadn't slept in almost 20 hours. Hallucinations weren't impossible. I rolled the window down to breathe, but the desert air was hot, still heavy, like it didn't want me there. When I reached for water, something moved in my rearview mirror. A person, standing on the side of the road. But I had been alone for miles. I slammed the brakes so hard my seatbelt punched into my chest. Sand kicked up behind me, and the car skidded to a shaking stop. My brain screamed not to look in the mirror again. But I did. The person was gone. The desert was flat. There was nowhere to hide. Some part of me, the part that still believed in being rational, said it was a trick of the eyes. Your vision starts making up shapes when your mind gets tired. I told myself that again and again, but deep inside, a cold understanding spread through my chest. I wasn't imagining things. I was being asterisk warned asterisk. My heart still hammered when I hit the gas and kept driving. But the road didn't stay silent. Not for long. At 1:12 a.m., my headlights caught something up ahead, a figure walking in the middle of the highway. Long hair, bare feet, wearing what looked like a hospital gown. I slowed down, pulse spiking. I leaned closer to the windshield, squinting at her. She wasn't waving for help. She wasn't even turning to look at me. She just walked. Step, drag, step, drag, like she wasn't sure how legs worked. I pulled to the side and crawled forward, not wanting to hit her. From the angle of my lights, her shadow stretched unnaturally long across the sand, like something behind her was pulling at it. I leaned out the window. "Are you okay? Do you need help?" She stopped. Her head turned, but her body didn't. Just the head. It rotated slowly, smoothly, until she was looking directly at me without moving anything else. Her neck didn't even tense. It was like watching a mannequin swivel on a display rack. Her face was blank. Dark eyes, dry lips, a faint purple bruise across her jaw. I felt my throat go raw. "Do not stay on this road." Her voice was the same one that had whispered through my radio. I froze. My heartbeat wasn't beating anymore. It was crashing, slamming against my ribs. "Please," she said. "Don't." She didn't finish, because something yanked her backward into the darkness so fast she vanished like a snapped thread. Not a stumble, not a fall, a single violent asterisk, pull asterisk. "No, no, no, what the hell?" I choked. I slammed my foot on the gas again. The car shot forward, shaking. My hands were slippery on the steering wheel. Tears blurred my vision. I didn't look back. I couldn't. Whatever had taken her didn't want me to see it. For a few miles, I was shaking too hard to breathe. My brain kept replaying that moment. Her blank face, her unnatural movements, her being ripped into the dark as if the night had hands. I turned on my phone to call someone, anyone, and that's when I realized something. I didn't have a signal, but that wasn't the scary part. The scary part was that my phone screen flickered, glitching lines across the display, and a notification flashed at the top. Don't go further. It wasn't from any app. It wasn't from any contact. It wasn't even a real notification type. And beneath it, the screen showed a picture. A picture of *me*, taken from the back seat. My stomach fell into my knees. I whipped around so fast I nearly dislocated my neck, but the back seat was empty. Completely empty. Or at least I thought it was, until I realized what I was seeing. The shape. Barely visible, sitting behind me, like someone curled into themselves, their knees tucked against their chest. Their silhouette shifted, slow and silent. Then a whisper filled the car. "You didn't listen." My whole body went cold. This is where most people would expect me to slam the brakes and run, but I knew leaving the car was death. The desert darkness felt like a living thing. It was safer inside, even with something breathing behind me. I stared ahead and kept driving. "Just tell me what you want," I whispered, my voice hollow. The whisper behind me replied, "To take you back." Back where? Back to who? Back to what asterisk? I didn't dare ask, but the whisper leaned closer, cold air brushing my ear. "You should have never taken this road." My eyes filled with tears. "What happens if I keep going?" Silence. Then, "You'll see." My chest tightened until I couldn't breathe. The outline behind me shifted, almost trembling, as if fighting itself. And for a moment, I felt sorry. Whatever it was, it wasn't free. It wasn't choosing this. But pity couldn't save me. "I'm not stopping," I said through gritted teeth. The whisper exhaled, shaky, almost regretful. "I know." The figure dissolved into darkness, fading until the back seat was empty again. Fully, completely this time. The air warmed, my breath steadied, and for a moment, everything felt okay. Then the road ahead changed. The asphalt ended abruptly, like someone had sliced the highway clean off and transitioned into an unfamiliar dirt path with no signs, no markers, nothing on the map. But my car was already rolling onto it. The sky turned darker, pitch black, like the stars had been erased. And the moon looked wrong. Too big, too low, too red. I pressed the brakes, but the car kept moving. The dirt path narrowed, narrowing and narrowing like a throat closing. And at the end of it, I saw lights, not headlights, windows. A building in the middle of the desert, old, crumbling. No roads leading to it, no reason for it to exist. A hospital. My stomach dropped as recognition hit me. It was the same hospital gown the woman had worn. My entire body screamed, "Don't go there, don't go in!" But the car kept moving, and the dirt road behind me disappeared. Literally, like it had never existed. I was trapped. As the car rolled to a stop in front of the abandoned hospital doors, my radio crackled one more time. I didn't want to get out of the car. Every instinct I had screamed *lock the doors, close your eyes, pretend none of this exists. But the engine died on its own, and the doors unlocked with a soft click I didn't control. Then the hospital lights flickered on, one by one, hallway after hallway, as if the building had been waiting for me to arrive. "Please," I whispered into the empty car. "I don't want to go in." The radio hissed. "You already have." The air inside the car shifted, heavy, thick, like something invisible had leaned close. A cold breath brushed my neck. Before I could react, the car door opened by itself. My foot touched the dirt outside. The hospital doors opened too, wide, inviting, or hungry. I walked forward, my breath shaking out of me in uneven gasps. There were no sounds, no wind, no insects, just the crunch of gravel under my shoes. The hospital towered over me, old and broken, with windows like eye sockets. When I stepped inside, the air changed again, warmer, almost humid, and somehow familiar. The lobby was lit by flickering fluorescent lights. A cracked sign hung on the wall. Crescent Dunes Medical Center closed, 1998, 1998. 26 years abandoned. No power, no maintenance, no reason to be glowing like a living organism. I stepped deeper inside, and the doors slammed shut behind me. The sound echoed through the building like a gunshot. My fingers shook so hard I nearly dropped my phone. When I lifted the screen, the camera was still open, the one that earlier had shown the figure in my back seat. This time it showed something else. A hallway, not the one in front of me, but deeper inside the hospital. The lights were flickering in the image, and a woman in a hospital gown stood at the end, watching me, her head tilted slowly to the side, unnaturally slow. Then the video feed cut to black. My throat closed. I didn't want to go forward, but there was no way out behind me. Every hallway was painted in stale yellow light that buzzed like angry insects. I picked a direction and walked. Left. The air grew colder. Rooms lined the hall, examination rooms, all open. Some had overturned beds, some had broken glass, some had dark stains that time hadn't erased. In one room, the curtain moved. Just a little, just enough for me to freeze. I forced myself to look. There was nobody behind it, but the curtain was still swaying when I stepped away. By the time I reached the nurse's station, my heartbeat felt like a living creature trying to claw out of my chest. A computer flickered on by itself. A login screen. Then, without me touching it, the cursor moved. Letters typed out one by one. "Welcome back, Sarah." My blood turned to ice. "My name, typed by invisible hands." "No," I whispered. No, you don't know me." The cursor blinked, then more typing. "We do. You were here before?" The hospital lights hummed louder. The floor vibrated under my feet. "I've never been here," I said. "You're lying." The reply came instantly. "You don't remember, but we do." A file opened. A photo of me. 6 years younger. Strapped to a hospital bed. My chest caved in. My legs nearly buckled. My mouth went dry. This place, this impossible, abandoned place, was claiming that I had been a patient here. But that wasn't true. That wasn't true. "I don't believe you," I whispered. The cursor paused, then typed. "Do you want to see the night you left us?" Before I could back away, the lights shut off. Darkness swallowed me whole. A soft static hiss filled the hallway. My phone buzzed violently in my hand. The screen lit up. A video was playing automatically. Me, on a stretcher. Orderlies pushing me through a hallway I didn't recognize. My eyes were wide, terrified. I was begging. "Don't take me back. Please, please." My own voice echoed from the phone, broken, desperate. I stopped breathing. In the video, something followed the stretcher. A shadow, tall, long-armed, moving like liquid darkness. Even the orderlies avoided looking at it. The video glitched, then ended abruptly. My voice cracked when I whispered, "What happened to me?" I didn't expect an answer. But I got one. A woman's voice spoke from behind me. "You escaped." I spun around. The woman in the hospital gown stood at the end of the hallway, the same one from the road. Her hair hung over her face, hiding half of it. Her feet were bare, toes dried with desert dust. "You escaped," she repeated. "I didn't. I couldn't move. I couldn't blink." She lifted a trembling hand and pointed deeper into the hospital. "It wants you back." My body went numb. "What is it?" I whispered. Her voice cracked. "I don't know. I only know what it does." She stepped closer. It keeps us. It uses us. And when we try to leave, her face twitched, eyes watering. It takes our memories first. So we stop fighting. My heart collapsed into itself. And me, I asked, why do I remember now? Because you came back on the road that belongs to it, she whispered. It touches your mind the moment you enter its path. Her head jerked suddenly, like someone had grabbed her hair. A whimper escaped her. Go, she pleaded. You still have time. Run. I grabbed her arm. Come with me. Her eyes dropped to the floor. I can't. I belong to it now. The lights flickered violently. The floor vibrated harder. A deep rumbling echoed from the darkness. A groan too low to be human. Her breath hitched. It's coming. She pushed me hard, sending me stumbling down the hallway. Run! I ran. Through hallways that bent into impossible shapes. Past rooms that blazed with white light. Past rooms that were pitch black. Past doors with fingernail scratches. Past abandoned wheelchairs that turned on their own. I ran until my lungs felt shredded. The building seemed to change around me. Walls shifting, doors appearing where they shouldn't. Hallways stretching too long, too empty, too alive. And behind me, I heard it. Footsteps, but not like a person. Like something heavier, dragging itself, scraping the floor with long limbs. The walls shook, lights burst, glass shattered, the ceiling cracked. I saw the exit. I threw myself at the doors. They flung open with a scream of metal. I ran outside, across the dirt, toward the car. A shadow shot across the ground behind me, massive, stretching out like a web of darkness. I dove into the driver's seat. The engine roared to life on its own. The car sped forward. Behind me, the hospital lights shut off all at once, like the building inhaled sharply. Then the road appeared. Not the dirt path, not the dead end. The original highway, stretching straight ahead. The shadow reached for the car. Long, twisted fingers stretching across the sand. But the moment my tires hit the asphalt, it stopped. Like it couldn't touch the road. I drove until sunrise, then kept driving. When I finally stopped at a gas station, the attendant looked at me strangely. Miss, you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. I almost laughed. Ghosts would have been easy. As I walked into the bathroom to wash my face, a sound crackled through the speaker above the mirror. Static. Then a voice. Soft, female. You'll be back. I dropped the soap. Because this time, it wasn't the woman in the hospital gown. It was asterisk, my own voice asterisk. Story 4 by Rescue Team. If you ever find yourself driving through the Pine Ridge National Forest after sunset, don't stop for anything. Not animals, not people, not even a child standing in the middle of the road crying. I learned that too late. And before I start, tell me in the comments, have you ever seen something on the road that your brain couldn't explain? I want to know how many of you have felt the same thing I did that night. And hey, subscribe to the channel before the story gets deeper. Once you reach the middle of this, you'll want someone to know where you disappeared to. Because Pine Ridge doesn't give people back easily. It all began the night I agreed to drive home alone from my cousin's birthday. Everyone told me to take the main freeway, but I wanted the scenic route, the forest highway, the one that cut through 26 miles of dense, silent pine trees. A perfect shortcut. At least that's what I thought. The first strange thing happened about 15 minutes after I entered the forest. My headlights flickered. Not off, just dimmed for half a second, like something massive had passed in front of their car. But the road ahead was empty. No trees leaning in, no branches falling. Then they dimmed again. I adjusted my seat, trying to convince myself it was nothing. Old batteries, dust on the bulbs, no big deal. But deep down, I already felt it. Something was wrong with the forest that night. The air got heavy. My ears popped like I was driving up a mountain, but the road was flat. I turned up the radio to distract myself, only to find every station drowned in static. All of them. 16 channels of white noise. Until one wasn't. A low voice, male, monotone, distorted, emerged through the static. Words buried under a thick layer of electronic buzzing. Don't stop. Then silence. My heart slammed into my ribs. I turned off the radio completely. No way was I dealing with creepy broadcasts in the middle of a dead forest. Another 10 minutes passed. Then I saw her. A little girl standing on the side of the road. Oh, barefoot, hair messy, holding something small in her hands. I slowed down out of pure instinct, because the human brain reacts to children before logic kicks in. She lifted one hand as I approached. Not waving, just raising it. A gesture caught between help me and stop. My stomach twisted. Something felt wrong. Her face was too pale. Her clothes looked old, like from another decade. And she wasn't breathing hard like a kid who'd been crying or running. She was completely still. Too still. I rolled down the window just a few inches.